Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to the end of the week. My name is Ken, aka The Phoenix, and this is Phoenix Friday, the show designed to help you settle into your weekend. This week's theme was fear. It is inevitable that we encounter it, but imperative for us to know how to deal with it. Another theme of the week, this one may be a little bit hidden, maybe not, change. Because why are my graphics different? And why was I introducing myself as Phoenix Rising when now I am aka The Phoenix? Well, we will discuss that after I do what I promised you all on Wednesday. And that's some good old-fashioned ghost stories. So, beautiful souls of the earth, crack open a cold one, kick your feet up, and hold on to your vibration, because it's time to rise up. A quick reminder before we get started to hit the subscribe button for more on the mind, body, and spirit. Now with that out of the way, let's recap some ghost stories. So I alluded to the fact that through my childhood, I had experiences. Our very first house, we heard disembodied voices. We heard footsteps when no one else was home. We heard cupboards opening, closing, things along those lines. So from a very early age, this stuff started. And it wasn't just me experiencing this. It was myself, both my brothers. My mom admitted to it, but my dad did not. He was a no-nonsense kind of guy. And so it was one of those things that we just didn't talk about. But we moved from our first house, and after we moved out of there, we didn't have any real experiences that followed us until 1998, when we moved into the house where my dad currently lives to this day. Now things were off from the get-go. I heard disembodied voices the first night that I was left alone for any substantial amount of time. It caused me to run down the street to my grandma's house where I knew that they were at and tell them what was going on. I was in such a state that they insisted we go home. My dad thought that maybe someone had broken into the house. So my dad searches the house. There's no one there. He says I'm imagining things. And here we go from the very start. I'm having experiences and he is not believing me. However, the creepiest part of the house was easily the basement. When we moved in, there was nothing down there except a toilet and a shower, just in a completely open floor plan, and this thing extended the entire length of the house. It was tile, a shower, and a toilet, and there was nothing else down there. The vibe was off. It felt very oppressive. It's very hard to describe, but something was off. Now, eventually, my dad built a bathroom down there. He built walls and a door, and he put a corner shower in with a glass door. And that is very relevant for our very first story. And that is my mom's doppelganger. The story takes place when I was in 7th grade. My brother was becoming more and more interested in my growth as a person. I was 12, almost 13 at the time. And he and I are nothing alike, but he still took it upon himself to really push how he thought I should be. So I went to go see a movie, The Mummy Returns. It's in theaters at the time, and so he tells me that if I go downstairs and take a shower, he'll go take me right then that afternoon. We look up times, find the time of the movie. All right, I'll run down there and take the quickest shower I can, and then we'll just get on out of there, no problem. But there was a problem. Because I'm talking about it. So I'm down there in the shower, and the way that it was built is there was a gap in between the toilet and the shower, just enough for one person to stand. So I'm finishing up, literally washing my hair. It's the last thing I've always done. And as I turn around just to let the water hit my back, I see my mom standing right in front of me. Now it's important to note that I saw her face and I saw her glasses. But they weren't her glasses. They were black rimmed. My mom did not wear black rimmed glasses at the time. In fact, she didn't get them until like 15 years later. But beyond that, she was black from here down. Now, in my mind, I justified that by thinking she's just wearing a black sweater that she owned. However, she was just staring at me with this cold, dead gaze, towering over me, looking down. And I look at her and I say, "Yeah, what do you want?" Like, it felt very invasive. And she just stares at me, saying nothing. Deadpan face. So I look around, "Mom, what do you want?" Just continuously stands there and stares. And then finally, I get upset. And I'm like, "Mom, what do you want?" And then it starts to fade a little bit. And I go, "Mom?" And I lean in to look. And I squint. And when I do that, she just fizzles away. And I get chills up and down my body, and I just stand straight up, and I just I can look around nervously, and I just shut the water off, grab my towel, and I dry off, and I'm just like, okay, maybe I'm imagining it. Maybe I'm just going crazy. I don't know. That, again, going back to Wednesday. That's my natural reaction to these things, is that maybe I am just going crazy. So I dry off, I change, I go upstairs, and I ask Mom, hey, were you just downstairs, hoping that, maybe she was just playing a prank or checking on me? I don't know. I don't know how I was quantifying it looking back, but honestly, I was a bit concerned. So I ask her, Mom, were you just downstairs? And she goes, no, honey, I wasn't. And I was just like, okay. She goes, why? Nothing. Right? In my mind, she wouldn't believe me anyways. So why tell her? Because it's worth noting that since we'd moved out of our first house when I was 5, she had not had any experiences whatsoever. So if the two adults aren't experiencing anything and my brother was hardly experiencing anything, then I must be going crazy. So I felt like she wouldn't believe me, and I did not tell her about it. It was not a story that I brought to light for about 10 years. So here we are. I'm in 7th grade. I'm at the very beginning of my journey of growth, of becoming a man, if you will. and I'm experiencing this stuff. And in my later years, what I have learned is that because your body is using up so much energy and you are changing, it's actually a very huge magnet to entities. And so my energy is changing. And from that summer, throughout that winter, comes the next story in our series of 5. So one night in the summer between 7th and 8th grade, I lay down pretty late at night. I'm a night owl by nature. I lay down to go to sleep. And from right above my head, I hear thump, 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 thump. And the footsteps walk all the way to the end of my room. Interesting, is what I think to myself. Very interesting. I just don't have much of a reaction at this point, and it turns around. Thump, thump, thump. And I am, at this point, just more interested than anything. And it gets right above my head, thump, and then it stops. Okay, just going to shrug it off. It's just whatever it is, it's upstairs, just walking above me. And I tell my mom about it. I'm like, Mom, I heard something upstairs above me last night. And she goes, what'd you hear? And I tell her exactly what I heard. And she goes, honey, there's nothing up there because there's not even enough room for anyone to stand. There's no floor. There's just beams. And I'm like, that kind of just adds fuel to my fire now, doesn't it? So that happened every single night, almost every single night. If not every single night, every other night. It would walk across my room, turn around, walk across, and end. Okay, it's just footsteps. No big deal. As I was in 8th grade, my brother starts dating this woman that lives in Chicago. So he would drive, he would spend the weekends with her. He would drive up there, spend a weekend, come back. And there was a Sunday night that I was laying there while I was trying to get ready for bed. I'm a night owl. It was difficult for me to go to bed. My bedtime was 10 p.m. So I would lay down and I would just lay there for a while and eventually fall asleep. But it was very difficult for me to do so. So I'm laying there. And of course, my mom had the lights on in the living room and the TV loud. So it's kind of difficult to fall asleep as well, right? I'm really painting a picture here for you. You understand my strife. So anyways, the point is I'm having difficulty falling asleep, and I hear the front door open and close, and then I hear footsteps across the kitchen floor, and then I hear the door to the downstairs open, and the door shut. It's like, that's weird. He usually would pop in to say hey to me, at least before he went downstairs. So I get up. It'd been a while. I'm like, maybe he's going to go downstairs, go pee, and then he'll come up and say, hey. I don't know. My brother and I were starting to grow a little bit closer as time went on, right? 8th grade into high school years. We were starting to get closer. So eventually I'm just like, I wonder why he hasn't come up to say hey. So I get up and I walk into the living room, and, part of me is thinking, maybe mom got up. Maybe she was, and I just didn't hear her or whatever. But I walk out and she's asleep on the couch. So at that point, I'm just like, okay, so it's got to be my brother. So I just walk on out. Again, creeped out by the basement. So I walk past the basement, through the kitchen, into the computer room, to the door, look out. My brother's truck is not home. He's not home yet. So my mom's asleep. My dad goes to bed before everyone else. And I just heard something enter the house, walk downstairs. Not a single chance that I am opening that door, that I am going to even investigate. I just have no reaction. I just walk back to my bed and go to sleep. In fact, that will be a theme that comes out throughout the rest of these stories. Like, something happens, something weird, and I just refuse to have a reaction to it. And I just go right back to sleep. It's like, leave me alone. It's almost like I taught myself how to deal with this stuff later on. I don't know. It's like I had it ingrained in me to deal with this stuff. Maybe I did. Maybe I did. I don't know. Lots of wild theories about it. But either way, my ignoring of it, I think, is what led to story number 3. And that is the demonic voice. I say it's so plain. Like, it's just... Yeah, it's a demon voice. It happens. You never heard the demon voice? I tell this story often. And when I tell this story, people often will tell me it's very creepy. And I'm just like, yeah, it kind of was. It definitely freaked me out the most out of the first little bit of experiences that I've had. But let me tell you this tale. And then you can judge for yourself how creepy it is. So again, 8th grade year. I am sitting on the couch. My brother is at work. He worked at an airport, 3rd shift. So he's off at work right now. He loaded and unloaded aircraft. My mom is asleep on the couch. I'm hungry and I don't want to go to sleep right yet. It is about 10:30 at night. And my dad, of course, was already asleep because he went to bed way before anybody else. So I'm on the couch and I'm like, I could sneak a snack in before I go to sleep. And I'm about ready to go lay down anyways, because I always listened. I always did what I was supposed to. It's just something I did. So I got up and I'm like, yeah, I'll go get a snack, right? I'll get a nice little snack in before I go to bed. And I get up and I go out, and as soon as I flick the light switch on in the kitchen from the computer room, I feel this presence descend, very heavy, very oppressive. And it freezes me in my tracks. And when it comes down, it almost growls. It like, and then I'm just like, I very vividly remember just standing there, staring, looking. I didn't even turn my head. I just literally like this. I was looking out of the corner of my eyes at it. And then, when like you hear something speak a different language and your mind just translates it differently or assigns something to it. Well, that's essentially what happened here, because I literally heard this thing speak, and what my mind then translated it to was, "You little fool, you're all going to pay." And then it like laughed. And then it growled. And then it was gone. It lifted. I stood there and I'm getting, I don't know if you can see this. I'm getting goosebumps telling the story. And so it growls and it descends, and I just stood there frozen for a minute. Flicked the switch off without saying another word or thought anything, turned around, walked through the living room, went straight to my bed, and I laid down. I was not having it. It was the most nope situation that I think I've ever had in my life. You just stare and you're like, nah. And you just walk away. I don't know how I'm capable of doing that. And people are like, how did you go to bed after that? I can't tell you. I just said, no, good night. That's it. It's just no, good night. And then from that point, I think things might have died down a little bit. I still heard the footsteps through 8th grade year and in my freshman year, things just kept happening. Like footsteps here, voices there. Nothing physical hurt me though, so I was just like, man, it's whatever. I might have just, my mom, I think I was gaslit into believing I was crazy. I'm pretty certain that's what happened. Because I just kept being told, you're imagining it, you're imagining it, you're imagining it so many times that I'm just like, it's not real. And I just went about my day. So I hear that voice and I'm like, yeah, no. Like, I still felt the whole thing and I'm just like, no. And I shut the light off and went to sleep. Yeah, I was scared in the moment, but I didn't like feed the fear. And then there was that part of me that's like, well, everyone tells me I'm crazy. Maybe I'm just needing to sleep. So I just went to go to sleep. Wow. You're just seeing this actual reaction of me piecing this together right now because I literally told you I had no idea how I was doing it. And now I'm just suddenly like, oh my God, no, I know how I was doing it. Crazy experience. Glad you're here for it. However, for the sake of brevity, let's continue. Right? I said things died down. I can't remember exactly how much they died down. Things just kept happening, right? I'd hear the footsteps. They became commonplace almost every single night right above my bed. Got used to them, ignored them. Didn't hear any more demonic voices. That was a one-off, so I was like, maybe I really am crazy. Didn't see any, ghostly specters out of the corner of my eye. Didn't hear really any voices in my ear since that very first night. But, I just went about my life with all this stuff happening. And that even includes story number 4, the covers. I'm telling you this one because it sticks out very much in my memory as something that should not have happened in an explainable way. But out of everything that's happening here, it is equally the most mundane, but the scariest for believers. So I'm woken up out of a dead sleep around 2 a.m. And I'm cold. And I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to reposition and go back to sleep. Middle of the night, I'm a teenager. I'm like 15 years old. I just want to go back to sleep. And all of a sudden, I just realize I'm freezing. Where is my blanket? And I'm feeling, because I'm the kind of guy who always slept under the sheet and the comforter. All right, I never did just the sheet or just the comforter. It had to be both. For whatever reason, that's just who I was. So when I reach to feel for the comforter, I just remember I'm laying there on my side and I'm reaching down and down further and further and further until I'm like literally leaning up on my arm. And I'm just like, where is it? Just down by my feet. And finally, I just sit up and open my eyes. And it's not on the bed. I'm like, what? So I look. Peer over the edge, I crawl over, and I look over the edge, and laying perfectly flat on the floor, as if someone grabbed it from under my chin and then just pulled it and laid it completely flat, is the comforter. And I just stare at there, and I just go, I'm not dealing with this right now. And I reach down and I grab it, and I mean, the room is ice cold. That's why I woke up, because I was freezing. And I'm just like, nope. Just grabbed it in my sleepy haze. I pulled it over me and went back to sleep. I was back to sleep in minutes. So again, the demon was thwarted. And that is probably the shortest story that I'm going to tell in this whole thing. And we've gone through 4. We've gone through 4 stories. And we've gone through different eras. The majority of those stories were told between 7th grade and 8th grade years. In the span of like a year and a half, I experienced a lot of random stuff. And then I heard the demonic voice, and then things just kind of chilled out. And then that happened randomly. I was growing up, high school. We've all been there. Girls, video games. I was a theater kid. I wasn't into sports, although now I have muscles. But I digress. It wasn't until I met my ex, who was into this kind of stuff, that made me realize that all that stuff not actually happened, but it was terrifying. And now coming to think of it, because at the time I really wasn't experiencing much anything weird. Like sure, there'd be the offhand encounter where I felt like I was being watched or, something weird would happen. I don't know. I didn't believe in it. Like it was clear as day happening all around me. And I just was not having any of it. So it couldn't grow stronger. And I guess part of that just comes from me keeping it to myself because I didn't want to tell anybody. Because I would have just been told, you're crazy. You're imagining it. That actually is something that I am realizing in my adulthood more and more really affected me as a kid. I know my mom didn't want to have to deal with a lot of shenanigans, right? She raised 3 boys, but still being lied to constantly really messed with my psyche. So 2007 rolls around and I'm getting actually into this because of her, right? I'm watching ghost videos on YouTube, those ones that say they're real, but they're clearly fake. And then we did some paranormal investigations of our own where we didn't have any video cameras, but I had this digital tape recorder that we actually had some EVPs on, but the batteries died. And then since it's digital, we lost everything that was on there. So I can't even prove it anyways. So I'm not even going to fight any naysayers on that. But I know for a fact that they were real because I wouldn't fake anything like that. And then in the beginning of 2008, I get cheated on and my heart is shattered. I don't know if anyone's ever been cheated on. It sucks. Would not recommend it. Sidebar, the only thing that ever felt as bad as that is when my mom passed away. So, damn. So that is going to bring us to our 5th and final story, the spirit punch. Now it was a fresh wound, a very deep wound. 2 months after it happened is when this story takes place. I was in the midst of dealing with dark thoughts about ending it. I remember sitting in a college class and thinking about how it would just be so easy to grab one of the shotguns from my dad's cabinet and just end it. But that was the line of thinking I had to stop right there because unfortunately about 1.5 years prior to this incident happening, I lost 2 cousins in the year of 2006 to the same method of tragedy. I'll just refer to it as tragedy because that's what it is. So I wasn't going to do that to my family. So I thought it clear as day. I was real and I was serious because I've never been someone to just be like, reach out for help or have a cry for help. I've always been someone that deals with my problems. I internalize them. I really process them. And then I deal with the person that caused me that pain. And this was a situation, unfortunately, where I was just really ready to just say, you know what, I'm undeserving of any goodness and I'm just going to go do this. So that happened. I was dealing with that, and I had 13 hours of school that I was going to at the time. I like to take all of my classes and combine them into 2 days. So I would do 2 days a week instead of having to go for 5 days. And I got home and I was really tired, and I was going to go to the shower. I was going to go take a shower. But as I'm walking past my bed to the door, I just hopped into bed. There was just this pull. I just had to go to bed, right? I was just pulled into it. So I get in bed, lay down, and I'm just like, just for a second, right? We always lie to ourselves. I'm just going to lay here for a second. And I start to doze off. And then from the foot of my bed, I hear my dad's voice say, son. He only calls me son when he has something important he wants to talk to me about. So I sit up, yeah, Dad. And I look around and nothing. Okay. Strange. So I look around and I'm like, okay, no one here. Must have been my imagination. There we go again with that. So I lay back down and I'm starting to drift off, starting to get back to sleep. And then I hear this murmuring about the demon world. And I'm like, man, what am I on about? Why am I hearing this today? This is crazy stuff. I just ignored it and it started to dim further and further and further and further. And then all of a sudden, I hear this scream, just this anger-filled roar. And I hear smack. And you know when you get hit in the face, you see a flash? Well, imagine your eyes are closed and all of a sudden you could just get hit and you see that flash and pain just shoots through my head. And I sit up, I put my arms up like this and I scream, what the fuck? And I am rear back and I am ready to just let my fist go. Because what happened in my head is I imagine my brother came home, saw me laying there and thought it'd be funny to just smack me in the face. Well, that didn't happen. Because I sit up and I'm ready to throw a haymaker and there's no one there. There's absolutely nothing there. So then I just sit there, feet on the floor, at the edge of my bed, just thinking, no. And I'm looking and I'm trying to quantify, really rationalize how this happened. I'm just like, okay, did something fall over and hit me in the face? Because my nightstand was like this much taller than my bed. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe something just rolled off and hit me. Maybe, and there was nothing tall enough. There was absolutely nothing that could have fallen over, hit me in the face, and caused that much pain. So I go out and I ask my mom, hey, did Dad come out here just a second ago? And she's like, well, he came out and he said something, and he just asked me a question. I was like, okay, that explains the voice. What I'm thinking happened is I heard his voice, and I think it woke me up. It stirred, and I thought it said son, and I sat up. But when I went back to sleep, there's nothing that could have hit me. So I verified that my dad had gotten up, and I had heard his voice. But then that doesn't explain the other bit. And so, of course, my family is God-fearing. I was advised by my older brother to go talk to a priest, and I was like, no, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to continue ignoring it like I have been my entire life, because it hasn't gotten any worse. And then I moved downstairs the next year after he left, and that literally ramped up to another degree where it was physical. I felt claws in me. I would get scratched in the shower. But again, it's things that I just I did not verbally fight it. I did not call it out. I did nothing to coax it, antagonize it, and most of all, I didn't fear it. Here's an extra little tidbit of a story. It's 2010, and I just got home from work, and I'm tired, and I need to go to the bathroom. But I feel this presence descend in the laundry room. That same descending presence that I felt all those years ago at this point in time back in the computer room. But instead of like saying nope, or holding it in because I had to go to the bathroom, I just got up, I opened the door, and I said, if it's there, it's there. What's it gonna do? And I walked. And right where that presence was, gosh, I'm getting goosebumps again. As I approached the spot where it's at, there's just this pure, cold mass. And I just walk right through it. Go to the bathroom, turn around. It's cold again. And I have goosebumps the entire time I'm peeing. And I have goosebumps the entire time I'm walking back. And I walk past it and I have goosebumps and I just close the door. And it was weird. It was in that moment that, yes, I acknowledged its presence. I know it existed. But I knew whatever it was, it couldn't hurt me. Now, I did see the doppelganger of my mom again, only in my dreams. That started off the night that I had moved in downstairs. And it was a very creepy dream. But I've told you the top 5 ghost stories of that house. And there are more. There are a lot more. And my dad still lives in this house to this day. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to have my dear friend Michelle, do a remote viewing session. I don't know how many people are into this kind of thing or not, but she's done this before, and I just need her to check on my dad because ever since my mom passed away 3.5 years ago, the house has slowly started to decay, fall apart. He's getting old. It's hard to keep up with it, and the basement has a certain knack for flooding. So from what I understand, the basement has flooded, and it remained that way for a couple days because he doesn't go down there too terribly often, and he discovered it, and he did what he could to try to deal with it, but it still smells really musty down there. And since it's very neglected down there, I can only imagine that thing is festering. So I need my friend Michelle to confirm to me that he's okay, because I'll be there very soon at the time of this video recording, and I need to know what I'm getting myself into. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up for the ghost stories. I hope you all enjoyed them, and I got a lot more. So if you liked that, go ahead, comment, let me know. I'd be happy to share more with you all. So if that's all you were here for, you've got what you needed. Please consider liking and subscribing, all that fun stuff. I would greatly appreciate it. However, for those of you that have been here for a while, I need to explain the channel update. So the whole reason I'm changing the name is because Phoenix Rising would not pull up in a YouTube search. When you searched Phoenix Rising, what would happen is you would find Immortals Phoenix Rising, a video game that came out about 3 years after I changed my name. Absolutely unfortunate. So in keeping on brand with the whole Phoenix thing, because that mythical creature personifies me to a T, and I'm not giving it up. I'm sorry. I just searched my mind for everything that I could find, and Ken, aka the Phoenix, popped out. However, I think it's long for a name, for a handle, doesn't flow as well. So saying my name is Ken, having my handle down here, aka the Phoenix, will trigger people to search that. And unfortunately, I'm stuck at aka The Phoenix at the time of this recording for another week because I changed my name way too many times and YouTube freaked out and blocked it. So I'm stuck at that for right now. But once I'm able to change the name, update my display name again, it will be Ken or Ken, aka the Phoenix. I'm not sure yet. It'd be easier to find that way in the search, and that ultimately is what I am thinking about. Also, with that said, you can see here behind me that my environment's changed, right? I look a little bit more professional, and that's, I think, overall a great thing. This right here is going to have a little bit more. I ordered a custom wall scroll to put right there, so that should really tie the room together, as the dude says in The Big Lebowski. So that is coming soon. Also, there will be a change in content. It's not going to be 3 days a week. The reason being is, again, I have a wedding coming up. I have to work 4/10s for that, and then I have to work 4/10s the next week. That takes away from the time that I have, and I have my own wedding to plan that happens in just over 2 months. So we still got a lot of work on that. So I'm going to do what I can. However, my plan is to have a new style video coming out on Mondays called Phoenix Rising, right? Keeping up with the name. And then I will do Meditation Monday as well on Monday evening. So you can start your day and end your day with me on Mondays. And then I will have more of a lackadaisical Friday video, which I call Phoenix Friday. I have a bunch of other one-off videos planned, so don't worry. Once I get through this busy season, I will be back and churning out videos regularly. But in this busy 2-week period that's coming up, there will be a 2-week hiatus coming up after today, and then I will be back on August 7th. That's a Monday with Phoenix Rising and Meditation Monday, and then we will be doing Phoenix Friday. That will be the schedule moving forward. I do want to continue doing Wellness Wednesday. I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate that. And editing these, even though it's, just straightforward, it still takes a lot of time. So I'm actually doing a bunch of researching AI tools, researching a bunch of stuff to try to streamline this process. So not only does it take me a half hour to 45 minutes to record a video because I'm very long-winded, but it will cut down on the editing. Because the editing, I spent 3 hours on a video recently. That was just me sitting here talking like this. I can't be doing that, and I'm not going to be doing that, okay? I ain't a word, and I ain't doing it. So are you excited for all the changes coming? Are you confused? Let me know in the comments section down below. But that's going to do it for Phoenix Friday, guys. My name is Ken, aka The Phoenix. For more on mind, body, and spirit, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And beautiful souls of the earth, rise up.